I could have. I wasn't doing anything.
Okay, now to this one. Refresh. Is it working? Is it working? It's a new one. Do we have sound?
So do I tell him to leave this?
Yep.
Okay.
There is a new one. Hi guys, Tiffany here. Welcome to my quilting life. I was having issues. It doesn't like to go on lives that were scheduled. That's the problem with this. It wants a brand new live every time, not scheduled live. So I think from now on, I will just not, I could schedule it from here, I think, is my problem. So, yeah, that's it. It's figured out. It's a working. It's a working. It's working. So, welcome everybody. I know I'm like a little bit further away from the screen today, but that's because I'm trying to figure out where I'm using actually my TV. I have an extra computer screen in here, so I'm using that so that I could see all of you guys' names and comments instead of a little tiny computer screen. That's what you guys are viewing me from. And then I have multiple cameras, which I finally figured out all of them completely. I'm hoping that my microphone is good too. It says it's on and stuff, so I'm hoping that that's delivering good sound.
How many people are on that one?
The old one says 15.
I know the old one. I'm talking your new one.
The new one has 61.
Okay. Well, I gave them 2 things in the old one. I'm hoping
68.
Okay,
Yep.
so I guess they figured it out.
All
so
right.
I can leave this old one.
Yep. So, welcome. I'm Tiffany. This is my quilting life. Today is Sunday, so Sunday, and
How do we delete the old one now? Should I open that computer and delete it?
No, I have to delete it from here.
Oh.
I am going to just be binding and chatting with you guys while I'm here today, and I'm also going to, I have more than one screen now, so if I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at the screen behind you. I think it's under this. No, it's not that. I'm looking for something on the computer real quick. Where's the share? I was able to have it before. I guess I'll just put it in here. Okay. So, hopefully, I'll just close that out. Screw it. Alright, so hopefully the chat should be good. Hopefully all the cameras are working. I'm going to type in here the Facebook group. Oops. If I could spell. Alright, we're going to pin that to the top.
They say you're hard to hear again.
Hard to hear? Well, hold on a second. Let me turn this off and see. How's the sound now? Can you still hear me now?
There's only one person that said.
If you could still hear me now, let me know, let me know. Hear it fine?
Yeah, they're saying they can hear you.
So you can hear me just fine then? Okay. Alright, we're going to run this.
It's all but Vicky. Vicky, you're the only one that can't hear.
Turn your volume up, that's all.
Everybody else says it's okay.
Because it's a wireless mic and it works every other time. So, alright, good guys, thank you. Alright, so today I will be binding a quilt that's in a video that you guys haven't even seen yet. So, it's going to be a pre-look into something that I've already made and you guys haven't even seen. Because, yeah. I don't need any other devices today because I have it on the big screen. And I could see the whole screen. So I'm going to go ahead and look at who's all here. Let's see who's all here today. So let's go over to that screen and scroll up. All right, we got Darlene, Nancy, Lori, Leah, Sandra, Donna, Dawn, Kim, Mary, Nancy, Joe, Deb, Carissa, Eva, Marla, Janice, Mary Jane, Michelle, Vicky, Gwen, Teresa Louise, Judy, Lisa, Paula, Maggie, Agnes, Angel, Emily, Delia, Dawn, Tammy, Nancy, April, Tanya, let's see, Shelly, Vivian, Lisa, Peggy, Tammy, Have a Love, Carrie, Sherry, Tony from Ireland. Ooh.
Yeah, did you read what she says?
Tony from Ireland, because of your OCD, have really helped me organize my sewing room. Love your videos. Awesome. I'm glad. Let's see, where are we at? Mary, MJ, Country Gal, Harry, Harriet. Okay, I was reading that whole word in one. Blaze, Nita, Dawn, Ella, Deborah. Lots of you here. Lots of you here. Kylie, Amy, Brenda. I'm still scrolling. There's lots of you here today. Welcome, and thank you guys all for joining. Gwen, Amanda. Let's see. Jim is here. Kathleen. All of you guys can hear me. I'm at that part now. Nancy is here. Can't tell a lot of difference. Yeah, I don't know which mic is louder or which mic is not. We got Linda. It went too far. Right. Zella, June, Julie, Shelly. Let's see. Every time you type on there, it goes on this screen and it puts me to the top again.
I'm sorry. They asked why you weren't using your new mic.
I am using my new mic. It's on. I don't know why it's not as loud in the computer as it is in my cell phone. I haven't figured that one out yet. Let's see. Melissa is here. Katrina is here. Scrunchions is here. Brenda. All right, Lewis, Cherie, Tamara, Judy, Joyce, Sharon, Robin, Virginia, and I think that's it. I think I got you all. Mary, Lumi. All right, welcome everybody. So the quilt that I'm going to be working on, you guys can have a sneak peek of it before that it's drowning when it's on. Okay. We're gonna switch you guys to the cutting table so that you can see. Here is the back of the wonderful quilt. Do you see that? So pretty, isn't it? So I finished my jelly roll race, and this is it. Can you tell? It's the most prettiest jelly roll race there is, isn't it? So let's open this up so that you guys can see. It's actually quite large because I did add borders. So you can see in the cutting table camera, there's borders on it, and it's all quilted. I did quilt a spiral all the way around the edge, which you guys will see in a video that comes out tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. And then I didn't quilt in the yellow, and then I just meandered all the way in the jelly roll race part. So let me show you some more of the fabrics that are in here, because I did this on the live stream with Sew Becca last Friday. Not this Friday that just passed, but the Friday before that.
They're all saying so pretty.
Pretty. Here is all the wonderful scrappy. I went with scrappy for mine because I figured, you know, honestly, a jelly roll is a jelly roll, and if it has 50 different prints in it, it makes it look better. And then, for me at least, I like it with the 50 different prints, and then the accent of the yellow, which I carried into the first border because I didn't realize I had more of it. So let's turn this some more so you can see more of it. So you can see this is what it looks like. So some of the colors, obviously in a jelly roll race, they end up next to each other no matter what you do. But a lot of them, there's only like a few colors that ended up right next to themselves, and it was a dark purple and another color that ended up next to itself. But this is it, and it's quite large. It came out at 78 by 84, and I'm going to be binding it with scrappy binding, because I mean, seriously guys, a scrappy quilt needs scrappy binding. And I didn't just do long strips, I actually cut the strips in half for my binding and connected them all together. So I actually needed more strips than I would have if I would have just went with straight strips, because I have a lot more seams taken out. So my final seam is actually a whole piece. My final piece is one solid piece because I alternated them. So this is what we're going to be doing. So let me put you back this way for a minute while I get the sewing machine set up, and then you guys can actually watch me bind from the sewing machine, because that camera is working as well today. Unlike last week where I had so many problems. But I finally got everything working. So it may look dark because when I switch the camera to here, I don't want to blind you guys with the light. This light is super bright. So I decided to keep it dull. And I guess I can just put my mouse over in front of me.
So what are you guys learning? What are they learning tonight, Laura?
We are binding tonight. I know binding is something that a lot of people struggle with, and I bind a lot on Sew Sundays because I usually just sit here and chat anyway. And I'm trying to keep myself well under 2 hours, because tonight is a Zoom meeting or Zoom chat, Zoom sew and chat or whatever with Quilts. If you guys don't know my friend over at Quilts here on YouTube, I'm going to be joining a Quilts Zoom tonight with Eric Oda from Treasure Heart Creations as well here on YouTube. If they are in the chat, they'll put their links. So I will be joining them tonight for a Zoom and sit and chat. I haven't done it in a few months because I've just been so busy, and my live streams kind of overpass the time that they start. But since the time has changed now, I can actually make it right after a 2-hour live stream. So, which is good, but that just means I'm on camera longer. All right. So I put my binding on this instead of my binding wheel because, well, usually I put it on the binding wheel and connect it right here, but right here next to me is the camera for the sewing machine. So I kind of can't mount any more stuff right here. So it went on this instead of the binding wheel, which I'll just throw this on the floor.
They're asking about your enchilada recipe, the one that was mentioned on Quilt's live stream today. Is that the same one in the video?
You mean on Teresa's live stream? Yes.
Oh yeah, Teresa, sorry.
It's the same enchiladas. There is a video in my videos from not last year, but the year before. Was it the year before? Yeah, it was the year
2019.
before. In 2019, I showed you guys my enchilada. Everybody loves my enchiladas, so I figured I'd share the recipe with you guys, and I took you into my kitchen and showed you all how to make them. I mean, after all, it's my life, so I could show you whatever I want. And the enchiladas is definitely a good part of my life, because I eat those for like leftover. I can eat those leftovers. I hate leftovers, but my enchiladas, I'll eat like 4 days later. Regular leftovers, the next day I won't eat it. But my enchiladas,
that's okay. I eat all the leftovers.
anytime I make enchiladas, oh, I could go for days. So,
Okay,
all right.
do you prefer 50 weight or 40 weight for machine piecing, and why?
Right now it's 30 weight. No, 40. That's 30 weight. It's 30 weight thread that I got in right now, and I don't really care the weight, honestly. I quilt though on my long arm. My quilting is always 40 weight. I use Glide. That's 90% of the quilts I do is Glide thread on the long arm. And the reason for that is because it runs the best on my King Quilter. I do have cottons, and if someone really, really wants it, I'll quilt with cotton, but it makes a mess. It screws with my tension, and it's just nothing but problems. Thread breakage all the time, and my machine runs too fast for cotton thread, I think. And Glide is an embroidery thread, technically, so it runs the best.
And now we're an affiliate for our quilt shop where they can buy the Glide.
Yep, you guys can. I have a bunch of links. If you're on a computer, if you go to my YouTube page directly from a computer, you know the top banner that's pink? On a computer in the corner where you see that quilt, if you go down to the bottom corner of that picture, you can actually click, there's links. If you scroll your mouse over it, you can highlight those links. There's links to all sorts of places that I'm affiliated with. There's SewingMachinesPlus, Fat Quarter Shop, my local quilt shop, which ship out, and you can buy the Glide thread there. There's a link to their website, and then as well as Connecting Thread, which you can also buy thread there. So just so you guys know. All right, we're going to switch to the sewing machine, and I'm going to get started with some binding. All right, here we are, nice and clear for the sewing machine. I'm going to put my quilt here, and I really have to move the mouse because I don't want it in the way. I'm on just one of the sides of the quilt. I don't know whether it's the top, the bottom, the side. I don't know what part I'm really on.
How can they find the Zoom link?
You join the T Quilts Facebook group. I'd give you the link, but I'm totally not on that screen right now. I have already closed it. If you join that and answer the questions, you guys can get the link to join the Zoom for that. And don't mind being on camera, because with Zoom you're on camera. It's really fun. We always have fun. Lots of fun. All right, as you can see down here at the sewing machine, I put my seam guide here so that way I can make sure and guarantee myself. I have cotton batting in this, so it's nice and thin, so I'm going to have a pretty good lip on the opposite side. But you're going to make sure that your binding is the open side facing away from the quilt, not into the quilt. You definitely want to make sure that first. Also, I'm going to start down here leaving about, I don't know, a 10 to 12 inch tail. I always leave a tail, so leave a nice tail. I'm not going to care if any of these, see how I have lots of seams? I have so many seams. I'm not going to care if all of these seams end up at a corner. I know how to carefully take care of seams in a corner, which I'll show you if one lands in a corner. But I'm just going to take my chances and hope they don't land in a corner. But if it does, I'll be able to show you how that works. So I'm going to put this under. Again, I have my long thread tail, and I can't unzoom this camera, by the way, guys. So just so you know, it's really close so you can watch the stitching.
Okay, Carolyn wants to know what's your favorite needle thread batting combination for domestic machine quilting.
Needle, thread, and batting combination.
Yeah, you're not picky. Just tell them you're not picky.
I'm not picky.
Use everything.
I use whatever's on sale, whatever I can find, whatever I have available, and stuff. I do use organ needles for this, the 9014s for my Juki. That's what's in here. And I also thread. I use whatever thread is on sale. Scott usually is the one who finds all the thread deals. Everything that's on sale, he's the one that finds it. Somehow, some way, he finds it on. And if we can't find a specific thread, then I go to one of my affiliate links because they usually have it. Yeah, I just use whatever. And batting, I use whatever. I actually like polyester batting, especially on the long arm when I'm quilting. It's harder to use polyester when you're free motion quilting, but a nice thick 6 ounce or 8 ounce loft, which is like that thick, Can you see my fingers? It's like that thick. Is so beautiful when you're ruler quilting to give the dimension between everything, and it really, really makes custom quilting look fabulous. You want cotton in your quilt if you want to not be so hot and burn up and sweat like crazy under your covers. If you are living in somewhere cold, then put polyester or wool in your quilt to keep you very nice and toasty warm. But I really have no preference. It's always whatever cheapest and whatever's on sale. All right, so let's get to putting this binding on. I put my stitch length to 2.5. I don't need it very big. I mean, I don't need it very small to attach binding. I usually just go with the 2.5. I back stitch and then I just start going. This is a 2.5 inch binding also. I just used from my 2.5 inch bin. I sew pretty fast, guys. So for those that are new to my channel, I sew just as fast almost as if it was watching a video that I put in fast forward.
What time is the Zoom thing tonight?
I don't know. If Eric's on, he'll be able to tell you for Zoom. I don't know if Eric's on yet. If he comes on, you guys can ask him. If T comes on, you can ask her. I think it's let's see, it's 5 my time. I think it's at 7 my time. I'm not sure. I'll deal with it after because I was gonna message Eric after I was done with the live. All right, so let's just sew this on. And the only reason why I have to stop periodically, usually I run my every part of all my fingers except for my first finger in the middle and my thumb on top like this. The only reason why I have to stop is because with binding, I actually have to adjust the quilt as I'm doing this, or else I would continuously sew.
Where do you get the new gadget that you use for your seam guide?
Where do I get the magnetic seam guide? Is found online.
Right,
you can find it on Amazon. You can find it at the Fat Quarter Shop. You can find it on SewingMachinesPlus. Any of my affiliate links, you can find it. Any of those places, or on Amazon, because Amazon I hear is probably the cheapest. And look, my first corner will not have a seam in it. Look at that. Alright, I don't do like everyone else. I actually just come, let's see if you guys can see this in the screen. I come to about 1/4 inch before the end. It's usually by eye. Before the end of the quilt, I come to about 1/4 inch and then I back stitch and then I do my foldings. A lot of people turn it sideways and then sew off the edge. I don't do that. Never have. I just back stitch right here at 1/4 inch away from the edge so that I can lift my side up right here, create my 45-degree mitered corner, and then fold it on top of itself just like this. And then sometimes I make a crease right here and start my needle there 1/4 inch in, and then sometimes I just come off the edge. When I'm being lazy about it, I just come off the edge. So, and then I give it a slight back stitch and then continue on. So there's one corner so far, and I am sewing hair into the binding. My hair's falling out again like crazy, guys. And then all I do is just adjust the quilt. And just for reference, I am sewing this to the back and I will be folding it over to the front because I want the front to show the scrappiness of this binding. I like my binding finished on the front than on the back. I just prefer the look of it. To me, it's like one last final border and it makes it look super awesome. Oh, I'm sewing. You guys should have told me I was sewing without bobbin. You guys can actually see me sewing it. I can see it on the screen too.
Well, Carolyn said she's a newbie. She bought warm and light cotton batting for practice, but it doesn't show buff and defined stitches. She doesn't know what she's doing wrong. I
No,
told her
it's
that
not going to.
the
Polyester.
thick poly batting is the best.
You could also take a layer of cotton and a layer of thinner poly if you want defined stitches. But if you really want true defined stitches, use the 100% polyester. But make sure it's a 6 or an 8 ounce loft, because the cheesy little 1/8 inch stuff that they sell at like Walmart and Joann's, you don't want that. It's not the right thickness. It's very, very thin. It's almost see-through. It's not the right kind of batting. It doesn't have the loft you need. So you need to go to like Marshall Dry Goods and order their 6 or 8 ounce loft batting. And it's very nice batting. Very, very nice batting. I've been using it for years from Marshall Dry Goods for the polyester batting. I just love it. Huh? No. If someone else knows how to speak their language, then they could.
You don't have to say it out loud.
They can just answer them.
Yes or no.
No. When I read comments, they usually Google translates them after the fact, not during, which kind of sucks. I wish it would translate it 24/7, because then we'd know.
I don't know if we should delete them all.
No, don't delete. Just leave it.
I didn't. I'm not the one that did it.
Oh, someone else did?
Yeah, delete that. Delete it every now. Yes. I don't know if we should.
It's fine either way.
What are you making tonight?
Huh?
What are you making tonight?
Binding a quilt. If you are watching it live right now, you can obviously see I am binding. And look at this, another corner that did not land with a seam. Yay! So I'm just going to sew to my 1/4 inch, and I sewed one stitch too many. So let me unpick that last stitch, because it's one stitch too many. There we go. One. Come on. Because I back stitched, I didn't get the whole stitch. All right, so I'm going to turn it upwards, as you can see. So I turn it away just like that, creating a 45-degree miter. You want a straight line between your quilt and your binding, and you just want to flip it over like this. Match it, the fold, with the edge of the quilt, and then again you could start a 1/4 inch in, or be lazy like me and just come in from the edge, which is what I'm doing today when I don't normally do that, but that's what's today.
What's your seam allowance?
1/4 inch. 1/4 inch seam allowance. Oops. I'm sorry about that, guys. I totally knocked I knew that would happen on this wonderful shaky mount that I have. Someday I would knock it while it's streaming. Can't be perfect in here, guys. I think I need to move my desk out a little bit. That's probably going to help me better. All right, here we go. I had to turn the whole quilt into my lap. Just staying a 1/4 inch. That's what the seam guide is good for. If I didn't have this seam guide, I really struggle with keeping straight. Even with the seam tape, I cannot keep the quilt projects, you know, if I was just piecing or binding or anything, I can't keep it along this black line. I don't know why. I really struggle with that. I blame everything on my shakes, because I have the permanent shakes, but you never know. Maybe I'm just not a great sewer. I'm just kidding. I'm pretty good, I guess. I wouldn't be here showing you if I wasn't. So just know that if you need some help, the guides are really good. This quilt is a little on the heavy side. At least when it comes to my left arm moving it around and adjusting it. Oh, and I quilted this quilt with lemon ice. That's the color thread that I quilted it with. I should be binding with that same color, but I'm not going to. I'm just using white for the binding. Oh, and look, a seam has landed in the corner. So first seam in the corner. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch right up to my 1/4 inch as close as I can. I'm going to bring this up. Oh, it's not like super. Oh, yeah, it is. It's right there in the corner. So you guys could see the seam is in the corner. So the seam starts right here and comes to right here. So I'm going to go same method as always. Just going to make sure that it's pushed down quite a bit because that seam is landing that first 1/4 inch in. We're just going to turn it, sew it down like always, and when we get to the other side and start attaching the binding, then you guys will see how I fold it that way with the seam in the corner like that.
Mary says, do you find your binding not going smoothly because you are not using the walking foot?
Actually, the binding goes very smoothly. I don't have a problem with or without the sewing, with or without the walking foot. This foot right here does everything.
And she wants you to know that she took your advice and got her cutting table up higher, and boy did it help her back and hips not to hurt.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I wished this table was taller because it definitely does not help. I miss my older table, but when I finally clean this room up, maybe I could put my tall table back in here and use that for cutting only.
Judy says, what kind of thread do you use?
I use
on there, at least.
Right now I have Signature.
I know you use Glide on the long arm, but
and I use Coats, and I use a little bit of everything. Like I do have some Aurifil. I probably could have used Aurifil on this. It was just gifted to me. I don't usually buy it on my own. But I have used whatever we find on sale. Again, I'm not picky with thread. I've never had a problem with using any kind of thread, whether it be cotton or polyester. I don't really quilt anything with shiny threads, and I don't really bind anything with any shiny or whatever threads. So obviously I don't run those like metallic threads. I don't run those through the machine, but anything else I will.
Mary says to use stilt blocks. That's what her hubby made her to lift her table up.
No, this table weighs way too much for that. This would definitely have to be drilled onto its some kind of thing. I like it for the height for sitting here, but I definitely don't like it for standing. But it works because I can roll myself over and just sit and cut, which is fine. I've never had a problem with that.
Janet wants to know if you use poly or cotton thread for quilts.
Cotton and poly. I quilt with polyester. The Glide is polyester. I have pieced with polyester. It's never been a problem. And I also piece with cotton, obviously. And I never have a problem. But I always quilt with the polyester. The quilting is always polyester. And sometimes the binding is polyester too, because sometimes I use the same thread that I quilted with for the binding, but I didn't want to bring that in here and roll a spool and do all that. I just wanted to use what I have already on here. Oh, this one's ending with a seam also at the corner. Look at that. So twice, 2 seams at the corner. So I'm going to sew right up to my 1/4 inch before the end of the quilt. Back stitch. I'm going to fold it up like this. making a 45-degree angle. You can see my seam right there, but the other side of the seam is right here in the corner. Just like this. And I'm going to do the same thing as always. I'm just going to turn it, put it under, back stitch, and I'm going to stitch down about, I don't know, about right here. Let's give it a little bit more.
Teresa, you never tried glide? Teresa says I'm going to try glide sometime.
She should. It's good thread, good thread. All right, let's go over to the cutting table now so I can show you how to trim this. Some people do it while they're just sitting there. I do not. I do it this way. I find everybody has their own way of doing things, so this is my way. So what I'm going to do is take the tail that I started with right here, and I think I'm going to cut a little bit off because it is kind of long right here.
Janet says, love watching you sew. You're so quick and make it look so easy.
Oh. I don't make it look easy on purpose, guys. Trust me, I'm struggling just as much as you guys probably do. All right, make it a little bit shorter right here. So I'm going to flatten it out. Keep everything nice and flat. I don't need that now. I'm going to take my tail. So my starting one is sitting down here. Here's my tail. I'm going to lay my tail on top of here. I'm going to slide my ruler between there to the edge of my pink one. And this is a 2.5-inch ruler for my 2.5-inch binding. I'm going to slide it right to the edge of the pink. I'm going to lay this on top. Make sure everything stays nice and flat. I'm going to take my scissors and just snip, just like that. And I never ever get a nice straight snip. So I'm going to straighten it with a rotary cutter real quick because it totally went crooked, like always. Move that out of my way. Here's my leftover. I don't need that. I don't need to keep my blade open, so let's close that. Move everything back over. And now I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, but first I'm going to show you what I do. I take this top, the part that I ended with, and I put it right side up. So if it folded in like this, I just lift it up like this and open it. Then I take the bottom and see how it opens like this? I'm going to put that open side on top of here. And I'm going to match these corners like this as an L, just like when we attach it. And you guys could pin or not. I'm just going to do it for video's sake again. Just going to pin on both sides of my corner to corner line that I'm going to take you over to the machine and sew. So right now I'm just going to pin it right here, just like that. And we're going to take this over to the sewing machine again so that you can watch. We're going to move that out of the way. I'm just going to bring the whole project over here, just like this. It's pinned, so I can't lose my space now. I'm just going to put the quilt up here because I need it to be a little bit bent. Just going to lay this here, and I'm going to sew from this corner up here to this corner down here on the underside, which I'm going to line up with my seam tape. So I'm going to go ahead and put this under here. I'm going to change my stitch length down back to a 2 for this.
Teresa says this is how I do my binding too.
Well, some people cut the fabric to the size. Some people use the binding tool. Everybody does it different. I just prefer this way because it's the way I'm used to. I'm going to sew corner to corner. Then I'm going to take the pins out, just like this. And before I cut this away, I never cut this away at first. What I'm going to do is pull the quilt straight like this. And if you lay it flat, you can see. I'm going to pull it straight and you can see that it's correct and I didn't mess anything up. When you know that it's correct, then you can go ahead and open this up like this and cut away the excess with a 1/4 inch of seam allowance. And I'm going to try to cut straight, but again, like always, I have the shakes. Some days it's worse than others. And today is one of those days. Then while it's right here, I'm just going to open it and give it a little bit of a finger press to one side, just like this. Super nice. Open it back up. Put it back under the needle. Change my stitch length again back to a 2.5. I'm going to put my guide back because I definitely don't want to mess that up. I'm going to start about an inch above where I ended and then just stitch on down. I'm going to line it up just like this.
Marilyn wants to know where's the Hunter Star tutorial.
It should be in Quilts I Have Designed playlist. And every now and then, because I didn't cut a little bit extra off, I have a little tuck right here that I just sew right over it. Because when I flip it to the other side, you're not going to see that little tuck. See? It happens every now and then. That's because I should have cut like 1/8 of an inch off more than you know what I mean? I should have cut just a little more of a sliver when I attach them. All right. Now we're going to flip this over and sew it on the other side. And this is the time I actually do not need my seam guide for.
Scrunchin says you make it look easy.
It is easy. It is easy. So I'm going to flip the whole quilt around now. Oh, shit. Bad word. I forgot to put a tag on this. I guess I'll glue one and hand sew it on afterwards.
Just hand sew it on. Jill wants to know, is the magnetic seam guide generic or...
Mine is a generic one for any machine. So you can see what it looks like.
I could say generic.
Hold on, let's see if I can hold it up to the camera. That's what mine looks like. So it has generic numbers on it, most likely not made in America, and it just has a magnet in there, and it's a very strong magnet, as you can see. Very strong. I can't even get the magnet out, but it does have, if you look around the edge of it, it has like a little soft plate right here that keeps from scratching a machine, and the magnet is actually set down in there just ever so slightly. So the magnet's really not rubbing against the your needle plate. It's actually this soft like felt. Let me see if I can get back in the camera right there. It's this really soft cushiony stuff. I don't know if all of the magnetic seam guides are like that, but this one definitely is. All right, here we go. We're going to start way up here so I can do a whole entire downward seam. We're going to put this down, needle down. I'm going to change my stitch length now to a 3. I like a bigger stitch length when I go around to the opposite side. And now I'm going to stitch 1/8 of an inch away from this outside edge, which would be on my left side. So from this outside edge, I'm going to stitch 1/8 of an inch away. So I take a back stitch to start. I get myself nice and comfy. Adjust my body, put the whole entire quilt on my lap, which you guys cannot see me doing, but that's what I'm doing. And then put the rest of it on the table because it gets heavy and you want this binding to stay nice and straight. Nice and straight. So I'm just going to sew along. You can go fast. Oops.
Do you remember where you got the guide? I know
we
you
got
said
it
where
on
you
Amazon.
Did we get it on Amazon?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure
Dang
if
it,
that's
it
where
was
we got
on
ours.
the quilt. Look at me. I can't even attach binding today without being distracted. All right, folding it back over. Restarting. I looked over at Scott and I thought I went off, but it was still on. Because I can't hear him every time when I'm sewing. So I'm just going to stay right here along the edge. And I just kind of rub my finger along the inside of it and fold it over all the way down. And I just hold it with my fingers all the way up to the machine. Move the fingers out of the way. And just keep folding it over, holding it down. Sewing along that edge. Or 1/8 of an inch away from it. It helps keep it down and it helps you and allows you to go a lot faster. So I just fold it over and sew. And if you wanted, you can actually keep your binding the same distance by using a seam guide on one side like that. And just, oopsie, no, that doesn't help me at all because I like to adjust. But you can do it that way if you need to. definitely don't need to do it that way, because then I can't see what I'm doing. I'm gonna have some sloppy binding today, let me tell you.
Mary wants to know what you do with all your quilts.
I sell my quilts.
Invention Tuesday.
And I was going to mention that on a forward face when I moved the camera.
Well, you can mention it right now. Since
Tuesday, this Tuesday, coming up at 5 p.m., I'm going to be going live with a quilt de-stash. That way it's pre-Christmas. If you need to buy your last-minute Christmas gifts because you don't feel like making a quilt, I will have them for sale. So that way they can ship before Christmas and get to people before Christmas. So Tuesday at 5 p.m. my time, Mountain Standard Time here in Arizona, I will be de-stashing. And it's just going to be me and Scott. We won't have extra help, so we're going to use the photography backdrop to hang the quilts on, and, you know, probably take us some time on the live, but we'll get it done.
All you have to do is talk. I will hang the quilts.
You could also use binding clips for this. If you don't feel like holding it with your fingers. I don't ever use my binding clips, honestly, unless I'm, like, really trying to be perfect. Which is rare. Okay, is this a corner with a seam? No, it's not. But we're coming up. Oh, it's close to it, but it's not in the corner. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to fold this over. Most people I have seen, they fold down, they fold the next side up like this. Hold on, I'm going to try to show you guys. I see a lot of YouTube videos where when they're binding or teaching binding, where they fold the bottom up and then they fold the top down. I have a hard time keeping it mitered that way, where it lands in the corner like this. I can't do it that way. I like to go down first, create my bottom miter like this, and then fold it up and come into it that way. I prefer it this way because they match better at, you know, at the tip. So I come right up to it and I take it right to it. I take one stitch into it, one stitch out of it, one stitch in, and then I pivot just like that. And as soon as I get this onto my lap, I'm trying not to hit the microphone thing too, guys, because it makes a weird swooshy sound when I do. Tuck in all that shredding. I'm going to put the needle or the presser foot back down and come down this side. So I just tuck it in and keep on going. Now let's see, is that visible now? Can you see down there? That's how I do it. I take one stitch into it and one stitch back and one stitch back in, and then I continue on. This is one of the seams. There's a seam right here in the corner, so that's why it looks kind of fat right there. It's definitely bulky, but I don't like pushing it up first. I don't know why, pushing the bottom up and then folding the side onto it. For some strange reason, I cannot hold it down that way. So I do the method where I hold the side and then come with the bottom up. It doesn't matter which way you do it. Whatever's more comfortable, I suppose. But I've seen lots of different YouTubers do it all sorts of different ways.
Brenda says, my bindings are better since I do it your way, Tiff.
Yeah.
And Judy says, I love watching you. I get so many new tips. Thank you.
Oh, I'm glad. Sometimes I can zoom right through this because it wants to lay perfect, and then some other times it's like, it wants to adjust on me. It's a hit or miss thing.
Heather says, I also use the clips too. Saves me getting blood all over the quilt. Jill says that's a slick way of machine binding a quilt. Thanks for the tutorial.
I do binding quite often because when let's just say, when I make a video, I never get to the whole quilt. So by the weekend, when it's time to do Sew Sunday, for some strange reason, Sew Sunday is always binding. Like 3 times out of every 4. because I have to quilt and bind the videos I make, the quilts from the videos I make, so you guys get to see the binding made too.
Tell them it's 6 o'clock on Sunday here.
It's Sunday at, right now it's 6?
Yes.
It's
right
6
now
p.m.
it's Sunday at 6 o'clock. Yes,
Yep.
Janet's already at Monday at 8:50 in the morning.
Oh yeah, today is, it's Sunday right now at 6 p.m. And I'm going to be putting a tag on this thing after the fact, because I totally forgot a tag. Oh well. Alright, this corner is also, as you can see, going to have a seam in it.
Liz says, I have the same Juki, but I cannot stitch that fast and look good.
Alright, so I'm holding it till the very end because, again, there is a seam here, so I'm trying to keep it from being so bulky. And so right close to it, and then I'm going to take this bottom half, because it's so thick, I'm just going to fold it up onto itself, just like this. I'm going to hold it, go very slow. One stitch into it, one stitch out, one stitch in.
Becca wants to know what you're doing.
I am binding today.
Yes, but you're doing the scrappy binding on
oh
the
yeah,
scrappy
my
quilt.
scrappy binding on my scrappy jelly roll race from our wonderful jelly roll race video. I would have assumed you saw my message to have known. I told you what I was doing today. Adjust it. Adjust it.
You tell Becca, yes, it will be for sale on Tuesday.
Yes, sale is on Tuesday.
And then she says your nails are looking good.
They're kind of, I have to wait a while to get them done. I don't know if you guys notice this because you guys don't see my hands up close all the time, but I just got done clipping. I grow extra skin around my nails, so the nail polish and having them a pretty nice color is also a distraction from the fact that I grow extra skin around my nails, like a lot too. I get, what is it called right here? Ingrown nails on both my thumbs and my first fingers, because if you guys haven't noticed, my first fingers are crooked. Little oddities. Alright, so we've managed to do two of the corners that had the seam that landed in the corner. So now we should have two regular no seam in the next two corners. Just the way it landed.
Can you just speak up? Everybody's saying that you're hard to hear.
Is it because I'm holding the quilt, you guys?
I don't know. They've been saying that from the beginning, but now you're getting more people, so more people are saying.
Can you still hear me? Am I louder? I don't know how to adjust the volume. Hold on. I'm going to go over to the computer real quick. Let's put you guys on the front facing camera for a second. Ugh. Roll myself over so that I could see the screen. Let's go to the mic audio. My binding is 2.5 inches. I have to come really close because I can't read the smaller screen. Remove, rename, protector, undo, help, unhide, properties, maybe? Sound. Mic, audio.
For folks that has to see the back, I will show the back while you're doing your thing.
And default. It says that my volume is at 100%, guys.
It just doesn't like being on the computer.
Off. It just doesn't like being on the computer. I'll have to do a different mic for this stuff. It just doesn't want to be on this computer.
Some say they can hear you fine and some say it's quiet. Anya says she can hear you from across the room. Maybe it depends on what they're on.
Yeah, it probably depends on the device that you're on. I mean, I could see the mixer on the screen. It's literally going really fast all the way to the end. I mean, it's not in like turning yellow like when I stand like super close to it and have just the regular computer mic going, but I'll fix it later and see if I can't get it to go louder one of these days. I don't know how else to do it. From my phone, it's super loud, but I think it's just the device that I'm using.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to the
Once
sewing
Becca
machine.
mentioned it, a bunch of people mentioned it, but a lot of them are saying they can hear you fine too. So I don't know. I guess it just depends.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the device.
Well, Tanya's on an iPad. She said she can hear you across the room. Brenda's using an earpiece and she can hear you just fine. Tell Carolyn no, Scott has not made a quilt.
No, Scott has not made a quilt. Unfortunately, guys, I cannot get him to sit at the sewing machine. But he has, if you guys want to watch the video, he has long arm quilted. There is a video in the long arm quilting files that says Scott's first time on the long arm. He'll probably never do it again, but he did.
And thank Heather. She said to check.
Thank you, Heather. I got the notification. I think I have one more side after this. One more side after this. Did I answer the 2.5-inch binding? Yep. I did, right? Yeah, okay.
And I'm now answering once again your seam guide. So everybody keeps asking where you got it, what it is. You need to just buy a ton of them and start selling them. You know? You get more comments on that than anything.
Sorry, some of these I can't tuck in. I just clip them. These little threads. My foot is sliding. You would think that my sewing foot, the machine foot, wouldn't slide on the carpet, but it does. Alright, here comes to another corner. This one does not have a seam at it, which makes this so much easier. It should lay super flat. Here we go, creating my mitered corner, folding the side in, folding the bottom up to the top, just like that. I'm going to sew right up to it. I'm going to take one stitch in, one stitch out, just like that, and I'm going to turn it and sew down. And then adjust the whole entire quilt again.
Diane wants to know how many quilts do you make in a month or in a week?
Well, I probably make a quilt a week, 4 quilts a month. But it all depends on the size of the project too. Because sometimes if it's really big, it takes me, you know, a while to do it. But I still do side projects in between. Oh. But I try to at least get as many as I can done.
It also depends on how many things you're doing for other people too.
Yeah, it depends on how many things for other people. I have a lot of t-shirt quilts coming up for you guys to watch. That's one of the little what's going on in my sewing room updates is t-shirt quilts. That is, I have not only one t-shirt quilt, but I actually have a couple coming in, as well as I have a baby clothes quilt. That one is going to be a fun one for you guys to learn how to puzzle together baby clothes for a quilt.
What color bobbin thread are you using?
White. I should have switched to yellow, but I didn't.
How long did you cut your binding strips?
They're the width of fabric, but I cut them in half.
Genevieve wants to know, what does it mean by stitch in a ditch? Is that what you're doing?
No, stitch in a ditch is when you're stitching in a seam, like this. Here's the seam. When you're stitching in a ditch, that's stitching in that seam, or that seam, or that seam. That's stitching in a ditch. I am stitching 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of my binding, sealing my quilt so that it'll be done. Usually I wouldn't have this done, but I needed something to quilt, so I loaded this on the long arm because it was the first one hanging closest to me in the closet.
Do you do much straight line quilting?
If I sit at the machine, yes, I can do straight line quilting. I do.
No, do you do it much?
On miniature projects, on little projects, I straight line quilt. It's I'm mostly long arm though, and I don't really straight line on the long arm. All right, we're coming to the very end. All right. I'll come a little bit closer. All right, here's my last and final corner. So I'm just going to, again, fold it, creating a 45-degree angle, kind of just give it a little pinch, fold it up onto itself, and you can see it touches right here at this corner. It's literally touching right at the edge. Like I said, everybody does this differently. This is how I do mine. I find it better to fold up than I do folding down. In, out, in, turn, and stitch on down this side until I get to where I started.
Bernie wants you to know that she made a t-shirt quilt out of onesies, but she couldn't post it since her niece asked her not to.
She did what?
She made a t-shirt quilt out of onesies, but she couldn't post it because her niece asked her not to.
Sorry about the shaking of the camera again. It's on a loose mount, like a desk hooking mount. So I have to be careful not to touch it, and I always seem to hit it. That's why I want to move things around a little bit so that I don't hit it no more. All right, so there was my final last corner right there. You can see, oops, is it right here? I can't tell because I have to look at the screen for you guys to see. There we go, final corner. All right, now I just need to put a tag on it, honestly. I will get to that later, obviously, but I will pick out a tag while you guys are right here. Let me put it on the other camera. Hold on. So you can see the binding. So I'm just going to run across it so you guys can see from the front side. Nice scrappy binding. I'm going to just turn it this way so you can watch how scrappy it is along the way.
Grammy says you make it look so easy.
Changed colors as it went. I used 8 different colors, 8 different strips of different fabrics for the binding. So it made it nice and scrappy. And it repeats itself obviously with the 8 colors, so that's why you're seeing the same thing over again, because I did one right after the other, over and over. So for the final quilt, that is it. Nice and big. There we have it. And now I'm going to come over here in front of all these cameras and grab my tags, which are somewhere. Where are they at?
Mary wants to know this was your jelly roll race.
Yes, this was my jelly roll race from when I sewed 2 Fridays ago with Sew Becca, Stephanie Stitches, Teresa Louise I Quilt 2, Ian the Off Kilter Crafter, and Kathy's Cute Creations. Right? I think that's how it's called.
Karen says that's a cheerful pretty quilt. Everybody's saying great job.
Alright, so here's my bin.
What's your finished size? Do we know yet?
Yeah, it's 78 by 84. I think I'm going to choose one of these tags because these are cute. So I'm going to be gluing on a tag and then, well, I'm going to monogram it first and then glue it on and hand sew around the edge.
Becca says the first one or the second one?
First one or second one what? I don't know. Becca, did you put your channel on here? I think I want to go with like the birdie. I like the little birdie. You like the little birdie?
Melissa says who won the race?
Should I say that would be me? If it was really a race,
like the
yes,
birdie.
I finished first. Stephanie finished second. Kathy finished. But she turned her jelly roll race into placemats or table runner size. And
Becca wants to
then,
know if that was your first quilt or your second quilt.
oh no, this is the first one. The second one was this. That's what she's asking. Yeah, this I started it and I haven't finished it yet. I mean, it's finished strip wise. I just haven't. I need to add side borders. It came out really skinny because this is only 30 strips. It's kind of I don't know. It's kind of boring to me, this one, the second one. But that's just because I needed something else to sew while we were still live that day. But yeah, I'll finish it by, like, probably put black down the sides maybe, and then a border all the way around it. I don't know. I'm not too worried about that one. I just needed something to sew. Alright, I think I want this bird. So I'm going to cut out this birdie for my tag.
Becca posted it down.
And Teresa, I hope you put your link to your channel in here too. Because I know you two both are here.
Becca did it for her.
Oh.
She did Ian's channel and Teresa's channel.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you. I don't recommend cutting toward yourself, but I cannot see when I cut that way. All right. I cut it a ½ inch bigger than what I need, my little tag. Let's put it back over this way so that you can even see what I'm talking about. Let's go to the other screen. All right.
Put Stephanie's channel.
There. Thank you.
Where did you get the labels?
These ones, actually, I think Becca sent me. Becca, you sent me these ones, right?
Yeah, I think she did.
Yeah, these ones came from Becca. This was a gift from Becca. They're very cute. And then the rest of them I got on sale at the quilt store. I have these ones too. I don't use these very often because I have to hand stitch them in, you know? Unless I like put them on the back and then sew them in and then quilt around it. So I don't use them as often, but they're cute. They're all like quilt blocks and stuff. But I definitely like these little cute ones.
Carolyn asked way earlier, is quilt as you go easier than adding batting and backing fabric after making the quilt top?
Quilt as you go, I don't know. I guess it depends on the person for it to be easier or not easier.
Becca said yes, she did send you that.
Yep. Those came from a fan, Becca. Alright, I need this. And then I need a piece of this. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to iron this tag nice and flat. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold over like this. This is how I make my own iron-on tags. I fold over the ½ inch. I'll do it at the iron, obviously, but you can see right now from the cutting table view. I'm going to fold over and fold these back right here, just like this. And I'm gonna monogram with my other machine some letters, what it's called, the date I did this and finished it. And I also need a smidge of this right here, because I need a stabilizer to do that first. And then I put this one, which is a double-sided glue, and you rip the paper off and glue it on. But first I'll use this so that I can actually monogram onto it. This is my I think this one is a 911. I'm not sure. Could be the 906 interfacing. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm not going to do that while on this video. I was just showing you what I'll be doing. That way I am not on forever. So I'm going to make a tag. I'll monogram after gluing this on, and then I'll glue this on to the actual interfacing and then put it on the quilt, and then hand stitch around the edge after it's glued, just to give it a nice finishing touch. So that's how that's going to go. All right, let's go back to this one more time. And that's that. So that's the things. I have to make a t-shirt quilt. That's what's coming up in video wise. I'm not going to do the t-shirt quilt in live streaming, only because there's going to be a lot of hours going into it. So I'm just going to kind of cram pack it all into one video. And then after that one, I have a client quilt baby clothes, which is also same thing. It's a t-shirt quilt, but I'm cutting up, not only am I cutting up onesies, I'm cutting up jackets, onesie outfits with the zipper up. I'm chopping it all up. Even beanies, little baby tiny beanies, I'm going to cut them in half and then use the satin stitch on my brother machine to applique them down. After I put everything together, those will be my final things, is putting the little hats all over the place. So that one's going to be super cute, but it's going to be put together like a puzzle. I'm going to cut out all of my pieces and then lay them all out on the floor. And then I have some, what is it called? She sent with all her stuff, receiving blankets. So I'll be cutting up the receiving blankets and using them as the fillers between, to that way everything puzzly goes together. But if I have to add like 2 inches because this one's shy of that one, you know what I mean, kind of thing, I'll be adding all that. And then what else do I need to get some long arm quilting done. I have jobs not only here, but I have jobs coming in, and then I have a whole closet filled of my own that need to get done. And I threw this one on first. Like, why did I throw on something I just made first? But, you know, it's what it is. It hung in the closet. It was the first one there right after I finished it. And I just said, you know what? Let's get this done. Other things, again, I'm going to remind you, Tuesday at 5 p.m. I'm also going to post it in the community tab. I will be doing a D-stash. There's probably, including this quilt now, I think there's like 20 quilts, maybe 19 or 20 quilts that will be in the D-stash. It's just all the quilts you guys see me making tutorials.
Well, bags will be in there.
There'll be a couple bags. I don't think there's actually very many. There'll be a couple bags in the D-stash.
Okay, 2 or 3.
And then there might be a couple wallets in the D-stash too, because I still have some wallets left. I haven't made any bags or wallets lately, but I did get a bunch of jeans, so I can start making more to go with my Tula fabric from the Curiouser and Curiouser line that I got for my birthday. So I'm going to be making some bags with that. Other than that, that's it. I'm done for the day. Can you guys believe it? A So Sunday that's not that long.
Well, Janet, I think it was Janet. Yeah, she wants to know, what is a good pen to write on labels?
I don't know. I don't write with pens. I use these fabric markers, the tulip fabric markers. If you don't write with them correctly, they kind of like blur out. So I wouldn't really recommend them. But Becca, I know you're here. She's used a fabric writing marker before, or a pen. I've heard her talk about it. She got it in one of her boxes before. One of her when she does unboxings, she's got it in one of those before, a specialty pen that writes, and it writes really nice. So she could tell you. I don't really use that kind of stuff. I use friction pins. That's about as far as I go with fabric related pins, and those erase.
Whatever you were talking about earlier, Vicky said she'd like to see you doing it, please.
What I talked about earlier?
Yeah, whatever you were talking about.
I don't know what I talked about earlier. So, all right. Does anyone have any other questions? Scott can go ahead and answer them quickly. I could kind of see in the chat, sort of.
Janice says that she just used a fine Sharpie.
Yeah, fine Sharpies will work too. They really don't fade away. It takes a long time for them to fade.
How wide did you get your binding?
My binding for this was 2.5 inches. So it's nice and thick. I like it where it shows a nice thick border look to the front. To me, it just, I don't know, it kind of finishes the quilt perfectly when you do a 2.5 inch binding. You can even do bigger and make it look, I mean, because this is a big border. As you guys can tell, this was cut at 5.5 inches, the border. So it's a pretty big border. I would say, you know, if you really want to go for it and you still don't trust yourself with binding, cut a 3-inch wide binding and sew it on. Same 1/4 inch if you don't mind that stitch that lands on the back of the quilt from sewing it on. Try it with a big 3-inch border because you will have quite a big front lip, especially with next to a big border. I think that would look super awesome.
For $10 if you want.
So just try it. Try out different sizes till you know the size binding that you like the best. I don't go any smaller than 2 1/4. I definitely there's been some thin cotton battings I've gotten over the years. This one's not as thin. It's about an eighth of an inch thick. But I've had some real thin cotton battings that I've purchased in the past, and 2 1/4 inch binding seemed like enormous on that thin binding or batting. So this one's a lot thicker, so it was, you know, it folded over perfectly fine. But just know the thinner you go, the harder it is to fold it over.
Becca says, well, look at Tiff breaking the rules, 3-inch binding.
Yeah, well, you know.
She says she does 2 1/4 too.
Yeah, I have seen some quilts with some super thick binding, and I think they look pretty awesome. I mean, if this border is so big, I mean, think about it. You're just adding an inch, a little bit more than an inch to the front. That's all you're doing. I mean, 2.5 gives you a lip of a 1/2 inch on the front. So if you did a 3-inch binding, you would have an inch and a last finished inch border. Really, that's what it would look like. I think that would be awesome. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to go message my friend Eric because I didn't see him come on the chat and find out what time Zoom is so that I can hang out on that today. I thank you guys for hanging out. Sorry for the rigmarole in the beginning because I still don't understand that. And sorry for those of you who the volume wasn't perfect. I'll just ask Becca later.
Don't remember Tuesday at 5.
And don't forget, Tuesday, it's live stream at 5 p.m. I will put an announcement and I'll create a live for that. And I'm probably going to go from my phone because that's probably the easiest to move around. So that way I can show you guys the quilting on everything. Because I'll be moving around a lot. So, all right. And that's all I got for today. Thank you guys for hanging out. Love you all. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new. And don't forget to join the Facebook group. I put it in the chat thing right there in the chat. It's at the top. And make sure you answer those questions because I won't approve you. I've had quite a few spam in the last few days, so please just answer the questions. It's very easy.